Welcome to this DVD. I am Lindsey Williams.
And I'm Stan Johnson, and I want to take just a moment and tell you a little bit about my guest today, Lindsey Williams. For 50 years, he's been a minister of the gospel, and for 3 years, he was a chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and he's going to be telling you more about that in just a moment. Lindsey, welcome back.
And Stan of the Prophecy Club, 16 years, 135 speakers. I don't know how you ever found them or how you ever sorted out the ones that you have. And nationwide radio broadcast. Congratulations, Stan.
Thank you.
It's a privilege to be in your studio today at your invitation.
Thank you. It's glad to have you. And I'm very excited to hear about this new information you have from this ruling elite fella. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Stan, many of my notes today, I will actually read them because they are so in-depth that I don't dare miss a single word. What you're about to see and hear is by the providence of God. I was in the right place at the right time and to be used as God saw fit, lived with the elite for 3 years' time. Now, they do exist. 3 years sitting across the dinner table, living in the dorms with, knowing the elite personally, such as you and I are talking right now. Let me emphatically say to everyone watching this DVD, there positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. Everything that they do it in advance. I just talked with one of these elite the other day, and he told me the latest of everything the elite have planned for the world for the next 2 years. Now, you may doubt, but if you doubt what you're hearing today, just stick around a while. You'll find out without any question that these people do exactly what that they say they're going to do. Let me give you just a few so that you will understand where we're coming from. Approximately 2 years ago, I had a phone call, rather unusual phone call. I had not talked with this gentleman in 25 years. He called me and he was mad. He threatened me. He said, "Chaplain, you've said too much. There are certain things that you can't repeat in public anymore. And your website, you've got to pull it. And if you don't, we're going to do this and this and this and this." Now, you don't argue with these people. John F. Kennedy did, and he didn't live to tell the story. And I knew better than to, so I said, "Sure, I'll be glad to go along with you." And after we had agreed to agree, and you always agree with the elite, if you don't, too bad, I decided I'd be friendly with him. And I said, "How's your family? Where have you been living for the past 25 years? Haven't seen you since the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline." He likewise became very friendly. And at the time, he said, "Chaplain, yeah, I'll tell you a few things." And the first thing he said was, he said, crude oil. He said, right now it's $147 a barrel. I said, "Interesting. Where's it going?" He said, $50 a barrel, just like that. No hesitation whatsoever. I said, "Now wait a minute. This is going to impact the economies of the world in a very unusual manner." I said, "This is going to be devastating to certain OPEC oil-producing countries." He said, "It's going to $50 a barrel." Just after that, I called a number of radio talk show hosts and I said, "I have just been told by one of the ruling elite that the price of crude oil is going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel." You remember this?
I do. As a matter of fact, I laughed when I heard it. I thought, no way, it's not going from 147 to 50.
Can't happen.
But 4 months later, it did.
And I said it's going to, and the price of gasoline is going from $4 a gallon to $2 a gallon. They laughed at me. I literally had some talk show hosts that laughed at me. They said it can't happen. One person that plays the stock market, he said this will be so devastating. It will affect the entire world. I said it's going to happen. So a number of talk show hosts allowed me to go on their show and say something that was an impossibility, knowing they were risking their credibility. And I said it's going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel, from $4 a gallon to $2 a gallon. Everybody thought I was crazy. I did too.
Including me?
Yeah.
Including me?
No way was this going to happen. And it happened exactly
4
like
months
this
later,
gentleman
hit
said.
$34 a barrel.
In 4 months.
That's right.
Why? Because the elite had it planned. They knew exactly what they were. Nothing ever happens by chance with these people. They have everything planned in advance. They know exactly what they're going to do in the world. Your life and mine is impacted and controlled by the elite, no matter who they may be, even from the President of the United States of America through every congressman. And it happened that way. Before it happened, people said, you're crazy. And talk show hosts dared to allow me on their program. After it happened, they said, you're a prophet. I said, no, I'm not. I just know the people who are doing it. And as a result, for the past 35 years, everything I have been told by the elite, since the day I was chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, I have voiced it to the world, and every time it has happened exactly like they said it was going to happen, to the point that I've built up a credibility, not because of Lindsey Williams, but merely because the elite told me what they were going to do. So,
for example, last night at dinner, you told me about how you were told that AT&T, which was the monopoly, was going to be broke up. Tell us that story.
Well, I was, 1975. I was sitting with one of these individuals at Prudhoe Bay in their office, and he casually said, AT&T, the only telephone company in America at that time, and practically in the world, is going to be declared a monopoly and is going to be broken up. If I had only taken his word, I could have made a fortune by investing in Sprint and all the rest of them. But I didn't, because I had not learned to trust the elite back in those days. Oh, you can trust them. What they say they're going to do. And it happened exactly like you said it. And I recorded it in my book, Energy Non-Crisis. And there again, people said, you're a prophet. Now, I know why you bought this DVD. You bought it because you want to know these things. So I'm going to tell you right now, up front, everything that I feel will impact your life in a major way in the next 24 months. Because I was told only a few days ago, this elite, I talked with him on the phone. I said, what's going to happen? He now has become friendly because I did everything he said. I closed down my website, and that costs money.
Oh, yeah.
I took my DVD off the market.
That hurt.
And for the past 3 months, I've not done a single radio talk show. And so this individual said, Chaplain, you did everything we said. Now he said, I'll be glad to talk with you. And he did. I want to tell you everything for the next 2 years that the elite have planned for you, for me, and every person out there in that listening audience. First of all, the elite have altered their timeline. Now, this is very important, because back 2 years ago, I was told that inflation would take place on a certain time frame. I was told that the dollar was going to have certain things happen to it within a year to a year and a half. It did not happen exactly like that, and I was wondering why. So I asked him, and here's what he said. He said, we have altered our timeline. I'm going to tell you in the course of these 3 DVDs why they have altered their timeline. Within 2 years, he said, you will not recognize the United States of America. I mean, this was
in a bad way.
Oh, he said you won't recognize it. In the course of the DVDs, I will elaborate and tell you everything he said as to why you won't recognize it. Again, this one is devastating. And he will do it. These people will bring this to pass, believe me.
They're not kidding.
They're not kidding. They have their time frame in line already. You will be so poor, you will not be able to rebel against the elite within 2 years. Now, folks, anything that is going to be done by an honest, patriot American must be done immediately. And if you don't do it immediately, you will not have the wherewithal, the money, the finances, the ability to be able to do it within 2 years. They feel that they have it made so much. And this was his statement. Again, you must take action immediately. He let me know that there's no way in this world that you're going to be able to do anything unless you do it immediately. And now understand that, well, I'll tell you more about this man in a few moments. The total devaluation and destruction of the dollar will gradually take place over 2 years. Now, he had told me 2 years ago that it was going to take place within a year to a year and a half, the complete collapse of the American dollar. They have altered their timeline because of who the president was elected, and I'll tell you more about that. I mean, this is interesting, why a certain president was elected. You've got to hear this part on down in the DVD, so don't turn it off yet. And he said the gradual deterioration of the dollar will take place over approximately 2 years. Inflation, he said, inflation likewise will escalate over a period of 2 years, and it will be so gradual that it'll be like the frog boiling in the pot. You won't realize what's happened to you until you're paying double and triple for everything at the grocery store and at the hardware store.
All right, now this is really important because I know that there's some people out there that are predicting a stock market crash. In other words, actually falling off the cliff, a real immediate downslide, a downturn in their economy. But you're saying, he said gradual.
Gradually, over a period of 2 years. And they have their timeline already set. It will fall off the cliff, believe me. But they know when it's going to fall off the cliff, and the average person does not. Oil prices, let me encourage you on this. He said oil prices will stay between $50 and $70 a barrel. Now this is drastic for OPEC, and I'll tell you more about that as we go along. $50 to $7 a barrel. So that means you're going to continue paying for approximately the next 2 years what you're paying at the gas pump right now. Then, oh my goodness, listen to this one carefully. Gold and silver are the only things you can rely on. Why? I asked him this. I said, why? He said, that's our money. Have you ever thought about gold and silver and why the elite use that? They don't use paper. Paper is worthless to them. 2012 and the elite and the Mayan calendar have something in common. You're going to hear about that in my DVD number 3. And here is the part that startled me more about anything that he said, anything else. He said war is planned after 2 years. And he told me where it's going to be, what their plans are, and how they're going to do it.
Wow. Wow. You must have been startled to have this conversation.
I'm still
stunned.
I'm still stunned.
Yes.
It was days before I was normal again after talking with this man. And he continued talking for the longest. We went on and on and on the telephone. He was in no hurry.
Well, I remember you called me right after you talked to him, and you were still shaking. You were still stunned when you called me.
And I am still. And I felt it a necessity. I flew all the way here, halfway across America, to do these 3 DVDs in your studio because I felt that the American people must get this information out. I plead with the Americans, every one of you out there viewing this DVD, I beg of you, this DVD is not copywritten. I ask you, I beg of you, I plead with you to copy this DVD, get it out to 1,000 people, get 1 million of these in their hands, and if you doubt what I'm saying, just stick around 2 years.
Well,
and you'll find out.
The proof is in the pudding, and you know, the things that he told you before, who could have projected that the barrel of oil was going to go from $147 down to $34?
They couldn't.
And it happened in 4 months.
Yes.
I mean, that's a cliff. No one could have known that.
The entire world was
unless
affected.
They knew. Unless they really
But
knew.
he did.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm not a prophet. And let me tell you up front, I'm just merely a minister of the gospel who was in the right place at the right time.
Met the right person.
By the providence of God. I give God all the credit.
Amen.
The providence of God. Well, you say, how do you know these things? Okay, here goes. After graduating from college, I went to Florida and pastored a church for 12 years, Grace Baptist Church. God said to me one day, I want you to go to Alaska as a missionary. That was 1970. I arrived in Alaska. That was just at the time that they announced they were going to build the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. The largest pipe ever constructed on the face of the earth for the carrying of crude oil. The biggest project ever undertaken by private enterprise in the history of the world. And they said that 35,000 pipeliners were going to converge on the state of Alaska to build that 800-mile, 4-foot diameter pipe. And the first thing that came to my mind as a missionary just arriving on the mission field, 35,000 of the roughest, toughest, cussingest, drinkingest, orneringest folks on the face of this earth. I said, they must need some spiritual guidance.
Amen.
So they did too. That was the understatement of the year. And I went to Alaska Pipeline Service Company and I said, don't you need a chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline? He laughed at me. He said, we never had a chaplain on any pipeline in the world. We wouldn't know what to do with you. Well, I kept going back and back and back. I guess persistence paid off, and finally they said, okay, we'll give you the northern 7 work camps, which was Prudhoe Bay, the big oil field, Arctic Ocean, all the way down to Galbraith Lake and the Brooks Mountains. And he said, just go up there and see what you can do. I'm sure they thought I'd last about a week and come home amongst those men, but I didn't. 6 months later, I was still at it. And one day, Mr. R.H. King, personnel relations man with Alaska, called me on the phone, and he said, Chaplain, you're saving us thousands of dollars of counseling fees we aren't having to pay. He said, your religious denomination pays your salary. And he said, we've decided that you're a great help to us. We would like to offer you, if you will accept it, executive status.
Wow.
And I said, well, what does that mean? I've never been an executive on anybody's board but the Lord's. And he said, it merely means that you can go any place you'd like, see anything you want to see. And he said, we would like to invite you, when you're at Prudhoe Bay, and we're having a board meeting, we'd like to invite you to sit in on our board meetings in an advisory capacity.
Wow.
In order to help the relationship between management and labor. He said, you can't vote, but you can sit there, and I got to listen.
You didn't even know what was just happening to you. Some of the biggest things in the world for people to understand goes on in those board meetings, and you get to listen.
A little insignificant, unknown aviation missionary out in the bush of Alaska, sitting with the elite, the ruling elite of the world for 3 years' time.
Wow.
There's no way in the world this could happen except the providence of God. He wanted me there so I can tell you this story today.
And also to make the men more comfortable, you told me too.
Well, yes. And so
to solve problems.
For 3 years' time, I sat across the dinner table from them like you're doing. You'd never meet these people. You can't get to know them. They don't allow themselves in the public to know people that much. And I sat with them, lived in the dorms with them, was invited to stay in executive dorms, heard what the elite had to say. I'll never forget one day, I'd been with these people all day long. That morning I'd hosted some person on the pipeline, and later I think some congressman had come up with something, and then that afternoon sitting with another group of them and so on. And I was devastated. You see, I was brought up in a Christian home. I had a godly, wonderful, godly mother and dad, and a grandmother who won me to the Lord at 11 years of age. And all of a sudden, I'm thrown into the midst of the ruling elite of the world, a den of thieves, so to speak. And I remember that night, I was just devastated. I went back to my dorm room. I laid down on my bed. I looked up at the ceiling and I literally cried out to God. And I said, oh God, how can there be such dastardly people on the face of the earth as the people I've been with today? That by design and intention rule the lives of human beings. They know what they're doing. They intentionally control nations and currencies and people and the world. And they do it in advance, and they do it by design, and they do it by intent. And I'll never forget that day. Well, I met the elite. They're positive, and I don't know how to express this enough, because since you've never met them and you've never lived with them, the only thing I can do is just tell you what I lived and saw. I need to say emphatically again to every person in the listening audience of this DVD, there positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. They tell the president what to do. They dictate to Congress what bills to pass. They control everything in our life. They control the amount of paycheck, the money that you make. They control everything that we do. They have the control of the world today, and there positively is such a group of people living on the face of the earth today, and they control the world. I don't know how to say it any other way. Let me give you an example. 1984. I was sitting in my home. This was after the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. I was sitting in my home in Kasilof, Alaska, and the phone rang. And the man on the other end of the line, I had not seen him since the pipeline, and he said, "Chaplain, you know, the elite are human.
Yes.
They love to brag, and some days they feel better than they do others." And he'd call me up, and he said, "Chaplain, do you want people to think you're a prophet?" That's quite a statement. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Now, at that time, oil was $32 a barrel. He said, "Do you have any speaking engagements in the next few weeks?" I said, "Yes. Just so happens I start next week in Seattle, Washington, wind up in Southern California about 3 months later, speaking almost every night." He said, "Every place you go, tell them that oil is going from $32 a barrel to $9 a barrel." I said, "No. No way." I said, "It can't happen." I said, that would devastate the world." He said, "But it's going to." He said, "Come on, Chaplain." He said, "You sat in our board meetings. You know who controls the price of a barrel of oil." He said, "Now come on, get off of it. Go tell them." I did. My audiences, I literally had some audiences that broke out laughing at me. They knew it couldn't happen. And when it did, my phone rang off the hook. They said, "You're a prophet." And I said, "No, I'm not. I told you first I wasn't." That I was just voicing what he said. But it was the same time that gold went from $800. You remember it had spiked up to about $800 an ounce, and it went back down to $250 an ounce. And all this was timed perfectly by the elite, because they had told the Arabs, "Buy gold, buy gold, buy gold," when it went up to $32 a barrel. And they bought train carloads of gold back in those days at $700 and $800 an ounce, because that's what they'd been told by the elite to do. And then when the price of oil went from $32 a barrel to, they didn't quite make it to 9, they went to 10. And when it got to $10 a barrel, the Arabs had to sell, in order to maintain their economies, they had to sell their gold back to the same people they'd bought it from at $700, $800 an ounce. They had to sell it back at $250 an ounce in order to keep the people under the sheikhs and the sheiks from rebelling against them and overthrowing them. And every bit of it was planned, and I was told about it 3 months in advance. And it was all planned exactly for that purpose.
Wow.
They knew exactly what they were doing. Now, the same thing is happening today, except for the past 35 years. Every time I have heard one of these elites say something, I have voiced it, and I do have contact with a number of them even yet, and I would merely tell what they know. Now, I know people. I understand the mindset of the elite, and I express it in one sentence. The name of the game is control. Some of these people that I rub shoulders with, if they wrote a check for $1 million every day, they would never spend all of their wealth in their lifetime.
Wow.
It's not all about money. Even though it is partially about that, it really is about control, manipulation of people, having control over nations. As a result, I have written 3 books about the ruling elite. My first book was The Energy Non-Crisis. It became famous overnight and became a bestseller. My second book was To Seduce a Nation. And then my third book, which is out of print, Syndrome of Control. And all of these I wrote attempting to explain the mindset of the elite, so that people could comprehend how these people think, because they don't think in the same terms that you and I think in. They think only in terms of manipulation and control and power. Many years ago, there was a man by the name of Quigley. Quigley wrote a famous book, I'm sure you've heard of it, entitled Tragedy and Hope. And after he wrote the book, someone said, "Mr. Quigley," now by the way, Mr. Quigley was one of the elite of his time. And they said, "Mr. Quigley, you wrote a book telling everything about the elite, how they think, what they do, how they manipulate, and you've even told what they're going to do." Aren't you afraid? Didn't it bother you? Aren't you concerned? Mr. Quigley said, no, not at all. They said, why not? He said, nobody's going to believe me. Well, I know. They're sitting there in front of the television set right now watching this DVD, and they're saying, this guy, there's no way in the world I can believe all this. Well, just stay around a while. You'll just like Quigley. He knew exactly what he was writing, and he wrote it.
Why do they want the control? You see, most people think that the ruling elite, all they want to do is make money. Well, money is only a tool. The objective is really control. Why do they want so much control?
Well, money, first of all, is nothing. It's a piece of paper. It's a Federal Reserve note. It has no value to them at all. The only thing they want is power. Same thing Hitler wanted, same thing Mussolini wanted, same thing Stalin wanted. They want control of human beings and control of nations. It's the inner being of somebody to want to control somebody else when they don't know what the Bible has to say about how a person should live. It's a human trait to want to control other human beings.
Well, let me give you my take on that. I think that the reason they want the control is to bring everyone on the globe down to one central question. Either you take the mark or you lose your head. Ultimately, that's where it's going.
I agree. That's the ultimate goal. You're exactly right. You and I have studied the Scriptures, therefore we know that. So let me tell you just a little bit about the man who told me these things so that you will understand DVD number 1, Tragedy. Remember the book?
Right.
DVD number 2 is Hope. DVD number 3, and I'm warning you in advance, you may not want to watch it. It's entitled Reality. It will startle you. You may have trouble sleeping at night. It positively is psychologically disturbing. But I'm going to give it. I've never given these things before. And many of these things I will not say on a radio talk show because I wouldn't dare tell what they had to say about our present president. I'll say it in this DVD as we go along. This man is over 85 years of age. Now, when you get to be 85 years of age, you start over 85 years of age, should I say. You begin to think about eternity. You know that around the corner somewhere that every person you've ever known wound up in the same place underneath, 6 feet under. And people begin to think. And regardless of what their status in life is, sometimes they would like to confess. Now, I'm not saying that's what this man did. But it's my guess that if I could say why he told me the things that you're going to be hearing on these DVDs, there's only one reason he told me. He wanted to get it off his chest. Now, it was quite amazing. 2 years ago, he didn't do this. But only a few days ago, when he gave me all of these things you're going to hear, and I've just begun. I really haven't given you the meat of it all. But he said, Chaplain, feel free to call me back anytime you want to. I plan to give monthly updates on what the elite are doing and hope to be able to inform you, my listening audiences exactly what they plan to do.
2 questions. He said you could call him back at any time. That tells me that you really have a good relationship with him. But the second question is, why is he able to release so much of this information without putting himself in some kind of jeopardy?
Quigley. I'll refer back to his book. He was one of the elite during his lifetime. He said, I'm not worried. Nobody's going to believe me anyway. The majority of people, until they see these things happen that this man said, you're going to wonder if this man was really telling the truth. And someone said to me the other day, they said, well, don't you think they might deceive you in order to destroy your credibility? Well, that's a chance I have to take in order to be able to give you the truth. I've done that for 35 years. I've chanced my reputation on the fact that these people were telling me the truth and not just leading me on. So that's what I'm doing, and you just watch it. Number 1, let me try to explain. The elite have altered their timeline. 2 years ago, I was told by this individual that inflation, massive inflation, hyperinflation, would take place in a year to a year and a half. We've gone by nearly 2 years. And we've seen a little inflation. but we haven't seen massive inflation. They altered that timeline in one of their G8 meetings, or one of the meetings they had. Secondly, these people are not divine. They think they are most of the time, but they really aren't. And they don't always accomplish what they want to accomplish.
But they don't quit. They just keep coming. If the bill doesn't pass under this name, they change the name of the bill and they pass it later, or they sneak it in here or sneak it in there. They don't quit. Too many times people quit. These guys don't quit.
They alter their timeline and carry it on, but they do it exactly what they want to do. Now, I wish I didn't need to make this next statement, but I have to in light of all the things he told me. The elite are laughing at you gullible, stupid Americans. I wish I could say it kindly. I'd like to put it in a little better words, but I don't know how to do it. You have 2 years, and that's it. The elite feel they have it made. They don't feel that there's anything that they have to worry about. They have accomplished everything to this point that they wanted to accomplish, and they feel that they will do everything else that they have to do, and that they have accomplished it to the point that Americans have fallen in line in such a manner that they have no concerns whatsoever about these few little marches that you're having around the country. The Americans haven't done enough to show the elite that they mean business.
Are Christians their enemies, or do they consider Christians just of none effect, just like another American?
I sure am glad you asked me that question, because you don't know my next point. You're not looking at my notes. This man used the expression, the devil's Messiah. Now, the first time I used that to you on the phone here a few days ago, you were kind of startled, and I noticed you hesitated for a moment or two. I asked this man after he used this expression, I said, are you saying to me that you have done something to America's God? Now, let me try to explain if I can. I have here in my hand the original Webster's Dictionary. It wasn't written for the purpose of all modern-day Webster's dictionaries. This one was written in 1828, and this is an exact facsimile of Webster's original dictionary reprint. And it states right in the front that the reason that Noah Webster wrote this book was he wrote a dictionary not for the purpose of the modern-day public school or the college using it. He wrote it for the purpose of preserving the meaning of the words at that time in history, so that the Bible would always have the same meaning. He states it right here in the beginning. He wrote it for the purpose of maintaining the
King James Bible.
The King James Bible. Now, you can take all those other versions and perversions, excuse me, but the elite did all this. They knew what they were doing all the time. But Webster said that he wrote this dictionary for the purpose of maintaining the meaning of the original scriptures so that the Bible would always have the same meaning.
Is it true that the elite knew that they could not defeat America as long as we had the one true God? And so to defeat America, they had to remove our God, starting with removing prayer from the schools in 1963. That was only part of it. That was only one of the things. But they had to take our God away to defeat us.
That's correct. They had to remove our God. And I asked him this question. I said, I don't know that I put it in this exact words, but I said, do you mean to tell me that you have had to remove America's God in order to be able to bring us under control? And I don't remember exactly how he stated it, but here's the second proof right here. This is the first textbook that was ever used in the first school in the United States of America, and many of you will recognize it. It's called McGuffey's Reader. It was the first. And the reason that McGuffey wrote this textbook for our schools was in order... Now, why was the first school in America ever established? It was not established for the reason that schools exist today. The first schools ever established in America were established for the purpose of teaching people how to read so that they could read the Bible.
The King James Bible.
The King James Bible.
Wow.
And Pilgrim's Progress,
Yes.
which is the second most popular book during that period of time and had been for many, many years.
Three or
since
400
Bunyan
years.
wrote it.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. And the reason for the first school was to teach people how to read so they could read the Scriptures. And now we've taken them out of the school. Now we've taken prayer out of the school. Now they want to delete the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag because it's God in God we trust. Let me read you just a page from here, from McGuffey's Reader. Oh my God, do not allow me to sin. Help me to do as I am told. Isn't that amazing? Oh, children, don't believe your parents anymore. They haven't got any sense.
Yeah.
Believe your school teacher and your principal. And by all means, listen to what the president has to say when he has a speech to all the school children of the nation. Yeah. Let me do unto others as I would have them do unto me. Our God can see all we do. This is the first reading book in our first school. Can you imagine this being used as a textbook in the schools of America today? God has an ear to all we say. Let all I do be fit for His eyes. God can see all. Who can see God? Not me. Do not sin, for God can see you. First textbook of the American school for the purpose of teaching children how to... They had to remove the God on which the founding fathers of America wrote the basis for the Constitution, and the only way that they could pervert America and bring it under the control of the elite was to remove God from our public life.
So as long as we had our God, we were invincible. But when we lost our God, we've lost our prosperity, lost our families, lost our health care, education. Everything else is falling apart because we don't have our God anymore.
Secondly, they had to take God out of the churches. Now this is going to startle, and pastors, please. I've been a minister of the gospel for 50 years. I pastored Grace Baptist Church in Hollywood, Florida for 12 years, a church of about 400 people. I'm speaking to myself as well as to the pastors of the nation. The year was 1964. I was a pastor of a church at that time. And it was when they said, you need to consider the possibility of allowing the government to be a blessing to your churches. Would you please accept, and they asked us to. They didn't tell us we had to at first. I know I was a pastor, and I had to make a decision. They said, would you consider accepting a 501c3?
Not good.
And as soon as I begun to see what was in that 501c3 organizational status that IRS was offering to the churches, and a tax deduction for every offering that was given by every person in that congregation, I immediately sat up and took notice, and I said, wait a minute. I want to look through this a little more carefully. And then about a year or two later, my church had not joined because I saw through it. I realized they wanted to put a noose around the pastor's neck.
Control.
Control. That's the name of the game. It's control. And it was all put in by the elite for the purpose of taking God out of the schools, taking God out of the churches, and they offered it, and the pastor said, we will gladly accept your status. Just give us a blessing by letting our people remove this from their tax return every year. And they said, now you must take it, or those people cannot use that gift to the church. Then they came along and said, no more sermons. You see, years ago, pastors preached sermons every time we had an election. And they advised their people the status of the candidates. They told them what change the candidate was going to make when he said, I won't change. And they told them what the candidate was like and what his morals were like. Can't do that anymore. You don't dare mention that. They'll pull your 501c3 status, and you'll have the the Gestapo on your doorstep in no time flat.
Your donations will no longer be tax deductible.
Yes. And so then they came along and said, you must accept it, and if you don't, then this is what we'll do. Mandatory. At first it wasn't mandatory. Then it became mandatory. Now you can't say anything. You'll forgive me, pastors. The average talk show host can give a better sermon than you can and get by with it.
Wow.
It's sad. What's taking place in our churches. I wouldn't accept it. I never did. Until the day that I left the church in Florida. I don't know what they've done since. But until the day that I left the church 12 years later, I never filled out the forms, never accepted the 501c3 status, and went on about my business. I didn't care. After all, where do I want the rewards to come? Do I want the rewards to come in heaven because I do what God says, or do I want the rewards to be given to me by IRS because I can take my tax deduction and that I gave to the church
Amen.
and get my reward
Amen.
from the state instead
right.
of getting it from God?
That's right.
So I never put it in an envelope and put my name on it whenever I give a donation in the church. Now, you'll forgive me, pastors, but you must face it. Then they had to change something else. They had to change the basic foundation of the United States of America. Ask the average congressman when he comes home for a town meeting, what form of government we have, and what will he say?
A democracy.
But what are we?
A republic.
Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution of America. Please read it. I hope you have in your lifetime. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution of the United States of America says, Congress shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. We are not a democracy. A democracy is a rule. A republic is we the people. A democracy is we the sheeple. And people have a choice that they can make. They can either be what our founding fathers intended us to be, or they can be a democracy, and that's what they have given us, because they wanted to take away our republic. They could not, under a republic, own General Motors and Chrysler Corporation. It wouldn't have been allowed back in those days.
Isn't that really a step in the direction of communism?
Oh, the CEO of... Oh, yes. It is socialism.
I agree.
The CEO right now of Chrysler and General Motors is the President of the United States of America. That would have never been allowed years ago under a republic. They had to change us to a democracy before they could take over our banks and our lending institutions. They've given them the money, therefore they control them totally. The name of the game is control. Remember it as long as you live, and then, here it is. You'll see a clip of it. A bold new world order.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a new idea. President Bush talked about it back in 1991.
It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause.
Nothing in the world but the same thing that Satan created in the Garden of Eden. A new method of trying to get to heaven his way, which never worked for Cain. It'll never work today. And the New World Order is what they're going to set up. I was told within 2 years, nearly everyone in America will be working for the government.
Wow. That's
Chrysler.
not good. Not good.
Who do you work for? CEO is our president. General Motors, who do you work for? The CEO is the President of the United States of America. Banks, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, who do you work for? You don't work for the bank. Oh no, your name's on the paycheck. But who really do you work for? The banks were given millions and billions of dollars in the bailout program in the last few months of President Bush's administration, and today the CEO of the banks is the President of the United States of America. And now, doctors, you may as well fold it up and go home. Because now the government will control every doctor, every hospital, all of our welfare, our systems of health in the United States of America will be under the control of the bureaucracy and of the President of the United States of America, and you doctors will no longer be your own bosses. The name of the game is control. There was a day and time when I was a boy that everybody wanted to either be an attorney or a doctor. They knew that's where the money was. You could make it. Can't do it anymore. Those days are over. You are now under the control. Before the election, you must notice, this is startling. Some of you heard my DVDs 2 years ago. When I first came out with what this man said, they were going $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel, and I told you everything that was going to happen that he told me would happen, and it's happened exactly like he said it. And one of the things he said to me was, he said, McCain is our man. And then later on, after the election, some talk show hosts came along and said, for the first time in 35 years you missed it. I said, no, I didn't. I said, they are not divine. You see, American people, you still have a chance. If you'll rise up right now, if you'll take action immediately, you can stop this. But 2 years from now, you'll never stop it.
Now, let's define rise up. You're not suggesting them using weapons. You're suggesting them using the Bible and turning to Jesus, the one that raised up our nation.
I'm suggesting that they ask the Lord what they should do and take it immediate action to do whatever is necessary legally within the Constitution to be able to get our republic back.
There you go.
We've got to have it. And you must do it immediately. You cannot wait any longer. You have a 2-year timeline as Americans, and after that, your children and your grandchildren, you have sold them into slavery. Now, I'm not going to pick any bones here. I'm going to say directly to those audiences out there, you have sold your children and your grandchildren into slavery if you have not gotten back our republic within 2 years' time. I was told that. If only I could somehow say it, McCain was their man. But they're not divine. And the American people said, we don't want McCain. And it has caused them a lot of problems. The elite do have trouble. The elite had a problem with who was put in as president. The elite are not divine. They don't always win. They may not keep this timeline perfectly, but these are their plans, and this is what they intend to do. They have some problems with the president that was elected in the place of McCain. Don't you bother that president. Anybody out there in this viewing audience, anyone listening to this DVD, don't you dare touch that president. You let him alone. Don't you lay a hand on him. He'll take care of himself in short order.
Yeah.
You can't take a republic and turn it into a socialistic system overnight as quickly as is being attempted to do without him destroying his own self. It's not our business. It's God's business to take things into His hands. It is not our business to take things into our hands. But it is our business to do something about the Congress and the Senate, and we can do it because they're coming up for election shortly. So I'd like to ask you a question. Would you like to work for a company who had the following employees? Now think for a moment. Would you want to go to office? Would you like to go to work every day and have to live with these people? 29 have been accused of spousal abuse. 7 have been arrested for fraud. 19 have been accused of writing bad checks. 117 have directly or indirectly bankrupted at least 2 businesses.
Wow.
3 have done time for assault. 71 cannot get a credit card due to bad credit. 14 have been arrested on drug-related charges. 8 have been arrested for shoplifting. 21 are currently defendants in lawsuits. 84 have been arrested for drunk driving in the last year. Would you like to work for a company like that?
I don't think so, no.
Can you guess who this company is? It is the United States Congress.
I thought you'd say that.
535 members, and it's time that we clean house.
America's in trouble.
2 years. There is a timeline. That's all you've got. There's no more left. You do something in 2 years or you've had it. I thought I must end this up with some comedy. There's no way I can leave you right now in the condition you're in. Now, the other 2 DVDs, they will elaborate. The second DVD, I'm going into money. The whole DVD is on money. What they're doing, how they're doing it, why the price of oil is staying at $70 a barrel. Oh, this is startling. Saudi Arabia. You've got to hear this. And in number 2, I deal with nothing but money. So after this one, please watch number 2. But don't watch number 2 before you hear number 1, because you have to hear the background to all of this. Now, I had to end it up with something comical. A DEA officer stopped at a ranch in Texas. You can guess this one already. And talked with the old rancher standing out front. He tells the rancher, "I have need to inspect your ranch for growing drugs." The old rancher says, "Okay, but do not go in that field over there," and he points in that location. The DA officer verbally exploded, saying, "Mister, I have the authority by the federal government with me." Reaching into his pants pocket, he removes his badge and proudly displays it before the farmer. "See this badge? This badge means I am allowed to go anywhere I want to go, anywhere I wish, on anybody's land in this country. No questions asked. You understand?" The old farmer shook his head, politely, the apology, and he said, "Yes, go ahead." And he apologizes and goes on about his chores. Short time later, the old rancher heard loud screams as the CEA officer, running from the field, chased real close behind by the farmer's prize bull. He told him not to go in that field. With every step, the bull is gaining ground on the officer, and it seems like he'll get him before he reaches the fence. And the officer is clearly terrified. The old rancher throws down his tools, runs over to the fence, waving his arms and shouting to the top of his lungs, "Your badge! Your badge! Show him your badge!"
Like the bull's not going to understand, yes.
I think it's about time for us to clean house. And the only way that we'll ever get back our republic is to take action, and take it immediately. Because I have been told by the elite that we have 2 years. And they said at the end of 2 years you will be so poor. Now they have this planned. Inflation, devaluation of the dollar, all of these things. He said within 2 years' time you'll be so poor you will not have the ability to rise up against the elite. If you want to have a meeting somewhere, you want to go to a rally, you won't have the money to buy the airline ticket. You won't be able to do the things you want because they will have made you that poor so that you can't. Within 2 years' time, it's all over. According to their timetable, if they meet their timetable, we've got 2 years, or we will have signed the warrant of slavery for our children and our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren, and they know they have it made, they think they have it in the bag, and they believe that they've been able to remove the morals and the God and the principles of life that have made America great to the point that they now can fulfill that total control program. Joe Smith started out the day early, set his alarm clock, made in Japan, for 6 a.m., while his coffee pot, made in China, was perking. He shaved with his electric razor, made in Hong Kong. He put on his dress shirt, made in Sri Lanka, designer jeans, made in Singapore, and tennis shoes, made in Korea. After cooking his breakfast in his new electric skillet, made in India, he sat down with his calculator, made in Mexico, to see how much he could spend today. After setting his watch, made in Taiwan, to his radio, made in India, he got in his car, made in Germany, filled his gas from Saudi Arabia, and continued discouraging and fruitless day checking his computer, made in Brazil, pursued himself a glass of wine at the end of the day, made in France, turned on his TV, made in Indonesia, and wondered why he couldn't find a good-paying American job in America.
Lindsey, I think you have brought some very, very powerful things to light here. And I just want to encourage all of you out here, get all of these DVDs and get them in the hands of all of your friends. Because the things he's talking about here, this is not fairy tales. These are things that you can count on. Lindsey, I appreciate you being with us.
God bless you, Stan, for allowing me to be in your studio today.